So basically, I create a way for us to be able to send notification. Do you guys like it? So it's just a way for you to notify a user. You could implement a push notification to like a mobile phone. You could implement a web notification. You can have an email notification. Any kind of notification, you can basically implement it. For right now, I only did email notification because that's the quickest one. So I have a few modules here. Uh, so, so I'm gonna also show you how that enable by dependency only flag work. So I have a notification module here that is only enabled. So if you enable it, you can enable it, and here it tells you this feature is automatically enabled or disabled based on the dependencies. And so you can enable this. However, this feature requires it. Okay. So the minute I enable this one will automatically be enabled as well, automatically. And if I disable it, so here I enable it and notification. So in this case, this was enabled, but also if I could click disable, this one right here should also be disabled automatically. So that's just a quick demo of that flag, that new flag we introduced. And so what happens here when you actually create this feature, so this feature allow you to uh, send notification via email. So the minute you enable this feature, now the user can go to their profile and they have a way to say, hey, I want to receive email notification. And if you implement a push notification or web notification, then you'll see a flag for those, and the user has the option to see whichever notification that we can send to receive. So that's really it for the notification. And then on the notification, you'll have a manager, iNotification manager. You basically call that and dispatch the notification. So this provides a method that allow you to send to that specific user that specific notification. And then depending on the implementation, you can do whatever it is you want. So that's on this one. Obviously, if you create a web notification, you'll only have. So this is my implementation of the email notification is that I have an email sender, and that's it on this feature. So I only implemented one class, and then I was able to send notifications via email. And if I want to do a web notification, all I have to do is create a web notifier that does the same exact thing as an email. So obviously, this right here might not be very helpful by itself. So I mean, it could be, but it's incomplete without this feature. And so this is another feature also implemented that allow you to create templates that you can dispatch automatically. Um, and so if I enable this feature, notification templates, I can go here to notification on content items, and I do see a new type called notification templates. So in here, I actually already created a template that say welcome email for the new user. So I create a template that I want to send anytime a new user is created. And for this one, we explicitly send an email because that is the only thing that makes sense because a new user might not have a preferences. So in this case, we only send a notification. So in here, you can select the provider that you want to utilize. And in this case, it's called a new user notification. And then in a subject, and then you have a body. There's also these arguments that we automatically create because this provider is aware of. So you can inject those into the body of the email that you want to send. And we have an email, username, and password. So the idea, if you create a new user, an admin, you might want to send their temporary password in their email so they have it, right? So this can be come in handy. And then user can change this. They can use a short code. They can use liquid templates, as you can see. Um, and then they can create more than one template if they for some reason they need a different template. They can also create more than one template. Um, and then so this right here, we can have as many providers obviously as we want to implement. There is another one that it's not completely ready that I was working on, that it's not 100% ready, but if we go here you'll see there's a notification template based on content. So if I want to create a notification when a content of specific type is created. So if I have an article and I want to notify someone that, hey, an article has been published, then I can do that. This is not ready and I'm not happy with the implementation here, but I'm going to show it anyway. So I can get yelled at. So I can go in here and I can create a template. So now I have a new provider here. It's called content-based notification, which is different than this provider. And so this one provides you even more templates because it has more awareness. So it has like a user name, owner ID, whatever. I don't know if all these are helpful. Probably this is the helpful one here. But here you can actually create whatever it is that you want. At the bottom here, you can control who you want to receive, or who should the person that receives this. Maybe you want to send it for some reason to the current user, or if you want specific user, you could select specific user from here, and those people will receive this notification. And because this is a content based, you have this option that say content owner. So if you want to notify the owner for some reason, maybe you want to create like a content with comments below it, and every time someone creates a comment, you want them to be able to notify the owner or something like that. So that's where this is powerful. The thing that I don't like about this is that right now you don't have a way to select which content type you want to trigger, and which event you want to do it, trigger it to. Right now I have it here, and this is the part that I'm not happy about. And so in here now you'll have a new setting here in the content type called notification. If you select notify, then you can say, hey, which event do you want to use to notify the user? And then also which template do you want to dispatch when this publish happens? So if someone published article, we're going to notify using this template. And this is the part that I'm not happy with. I think this one should live inside here. So when you create here, you should be able to also select the content type and the event you want to dispatch. So that's the only thing that I'm thinking here. But with this setup, you can actually implement any provider, and you can tell it which templates that you can utilize, and also you can notify the user based on their preference. So if someone don't want to receive email notification, then we don't send them. If they want us to receive only web, then we can send them web only. And if they don't want to receive notification, we don't give them notification. So this goes down to whatever the user selected in their notification preferences here. That's it. If you guys want to look at code, I can show code, but that's really it.
Why not workflows?
Because I don't know much about workflows.
Yeah,
I never used them, but I think
okay.
I think
because when I see you saying, oh, it's not complete because I'm not happy with that, I'm not happy with that, I'm like, it's already there in workflows, so you don't have anything to do to be happy with what you wanted to do.
Oh, maybe workflow will work in the content. So maybe that feature for the contact notification, maybe it's not needed. But for the email, I don't think.
Same thing. You can send email with workflows. And if it's missing something like profiles or like notification type you want to look for, you can create your custom workflow task that will use that profile to decide where the notification should be sent or what path of the workflow should go on. That would be even better. Like even with your notification tab, today you could have a custom workflow task, a script task that will say, if profile whatever wants email notification, then send email, because we already have the thing with send email. If your templates need to be in the content item, you can read the content item template to send the email. You can. So I think workflow is the best thing here.
But can we also have like a preference for the user to select from? Hey,
what I mean is that your feature can have this preference like you did, but the rest could be part of the workflow. Either that any user can create, or admin, or that you also create as part of your feature. A feature can create a workflow, and then the admin could customize the workflow to do things.
So instead of having templates here, somehow
it's a choice. Yeah, it's a choice. You could have the template in the workflow itself, or you could have the workflow read the template from somewhere else, like content. It's up to you. I think in the workflow it will be fine because it's a central location to change the workflow, like what is sent, where it is sent. You might want custom workflow elements that will monitor that what has been sent if you want the admins to be able to know who received what and did they read it? Maybe you want that. I don't know. But the workflow should be the thing to first look at when I see these kind of source, destination, triggers. Okay, anyone else in the meeting thinks the same? Or
first thing I thought about is workflows, but yeah.
By the past, what we said, however, and it has been a very common request, is sometimes workflow is too flexible, and sometimes it's better to have a dedicated feature that actually replaces whatever workflow can do, because in terms of UI, sometimes it's simpler. In your UI, I don't think it's simpler because there are lots of concepts here in different parts of the system. So I think workflow is better. Some people have implemented like stuff based on content items or content types, like, oh, when a content type is created, send an email. So they don't have to mess up with workflows. But in this case, I think workflows is not more complicated than what I've seen.
I think the issue here is that he wants to have custom templates, which we don't have, and I would probably add a dedicated menu item there that could have been added just to create the templates. Because we miss email templates.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you can create your, well, sometimes here you could create your custom workflow task that does that.
Yeah.
And then you can reuse everything to filter content sources, notifications, and everything from the workflow that already exists. If you want to have a way to select from a drop-down the source or whatever, or to type the template, because today when you send an email, you can type the template for the email, which I find is nice because when you send a text, an SMS, or when you send an email, or when you send a text on a channel, on a, I don't know, a letter, you don't send the same thing. So maybe it's better to have different templates in this case. And the workflow is totally fine. Maybe you want the email. So today in the email task, we can type something which is liquid. Well, we could also have a step that will load the template from a content item if you want it from a content item.
So I'm not familiar much with that, so I have to look more. But my question, but the thing is, one thing I do like about this is having those parameters. Mm-hmm. I think it might make things easier for the user, so you can just type in the email from here. You're aware of what you can pass without having to use complicated liquid or whatever. Can we also have maybe a menu here that say, hey, trigger this workflow? So here's a template, and this one maybe trigger specific workflow or something like that, and the workflow can determine what happens with this template. They send it via email or
you could have a content item that the workflow will use, and whenever something is triggered, the workflow could read the content item, could read a property, and based on the property, do something different.
Okay, I'll look more and see if I can use that instead.
The idea about templates for workflows that I had a while ago was about the fact that we can't translate the emails template right now. Maybe it could be added in the...
Yeah, but I think the workflow could load content items, even translations of content items. And even if you really don't like how you can do it today, because it's too much code, then you can still create a custom task that is doing that, such that the user doesn't have to care about writing script for that. The user can just configure the task and the task will do it for me.
Yeah, but it's somehow quite difficult for a simple
For generic
thing
things,
generic thing that people.
But here in this case,
require.
if you care about that, you can code that and make it available as a workflow item and still reuse everything else from the workflow system.
Yeah.
So basically use the same template, but just have somehow trigger a workflow behind it. So the work
and you need to understand the workflow and then see what you want to do with that, or if you really don't want to use the workflow.
That makes sense.
Remembers me the webhook module that someone did a while ago and was kind of reusing the workflow in a different way, make it easier for him.
All right, sounds good.
And maybe your whole module here will be a workflow task, and then triggering the workflow task will be based on whatever exists already in the workflow. I'm not saying everything in the workflow today, but you can reuse some of the workflow. And the nice thing with the workflow is that people can extend it with everything else that exists in modules. Look at it. It's so powerful that Sipke made a product out of it. Right? So
yeah, and we should merge it.
That shows that it's beautiful. Okay, thank you, Mike. Look at it and then we'll get a new demo. I'm sure.
That's good. Thank you.